Thank you for coming. This is our season ending for the fall, for the spring, with our guest speaker, Mrs. Taylor. I had a good opportunity to run into Mrs. Taylor about 3 months ago and asked her to participate in our Gym with Speaker series, and she graciously said yes after grabbing onto all the furniture and scratching on the walls when I told her she'll do fine. And I also now, I'm going to introduce another person who's going to introduce Mrs. Taylor, because she inspired me, because I ran into her last semester, and luckily enough, it was through one of the classes that I visited in the healthcare management program, and she participated as a spectator in our Gym with Speaker series in our September alumni panel. And in that alumni panel, she was inspired even more to join the supply chain major. So being that she's well known to Mrs. Taylor and vice versa, I asked Anita Goet to come up here and talk to you about Mrs. Taylor and introducing her for tonight's presentation. Let's give her a hand. She's nervous, okay? Let's clap up there.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Anita Goet. I am a junior here at Clayton State in the supply chain department. However, I didn't start off with that choice. Like Professor M said, I was in a speaker series and realized that I was not feeling completely engaged in my program and kind of lost, not knowing what to do. I work at a facility, Henry Medical Center, and during the transition of me making a decision on what I wanted to do for myself and my career change, we built a women's center. It's the Marcia Taylor Women's Center. So I'm very familiar with Ms. Taylor and what she has done for the community, the hospital I work for, and I just really started researching her and finding out all of her amazing attributes that she's gone through as a woman in this business and what she has actually done for not only my hospital, but the community that I live in. So I came and spoke with Professor M. While waiting on him, I opened up a pamphlet, saw her picture, and got completely encouraged, empowered, knew what I was doing was the right decision. Mrs. Taylor's story is one that is amazing. This is the last speaker series for the semester. However, we saved the best for last. She is the true cliche that big things come in small packages. She's done so much for our university, amounts to my hospital. I have I'm so inspired by her and her story. Even if you're not in the supply chain, if you're in nursing, communications, business, it doesn't matter. You can all take something from her story. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my inspiration, Ms. Taylor.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I can speak to you all after that or not. That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, it is a great honor for me to be here this evening and to be asked to speak to you. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? I have such a weak voice. If you can't hear me in the back, raise your hand and let me know. But I'm just very honored to be here tonight to speak to you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our 40 years of how we grew our business. And I want to know, Bennett is a family-owned company. We are faith-based. I worked at Bennett with my 3 children, and actually I have family that is here tonight that I would like to introduce so that you know who they are. My granddaughter Clayton, who is going to school, who graduated from Georgia State and is going on class with Liberty, and she works in our Taylor Foundation. My daughter Lynette, who has worked all her life at Bennett. When she was a little girl, and if she got sick, she had to come to work with me, and she slept on a pallet behind my behind my desk. And so she heads up our marketing department and also has a business of her own called Alternative Logistics. She's a vice president and owner of Bennett, and her friend Stoney is here visiting with us. And of course, my husband, Michael Kay. Michael Kay is retired and is probably my best supporter ever. And also, I'm here with Lee Gentry. Lee is Executive Vice President of Bennett. Lee has been with Bennett. How long have we been together, Lee?
30 years.
Oh gosh, 30 years. So anyway.
Is that bad?
No, that's
Okay,
good.
good.
That's good. Yes, that's good. Lee and I do a lot of things together, and it's got so bad I can start a sentence and he can finish it for me. So anyway, but Bennett is a faith-based company. We have a strong foundation of core values. Our entire company is built on our core values. We have over 3,000. We have about 2,700 drivers, and we have about 800 employees. We're about 300 offices throughout the United States. And they really have worked to make Bennett what we are today. It's exciting to see so many people here that are either majoring or as interested in business as I am. I'm just curious, how many of you want to start your own business when you get out of school? Oh, great. That's great. Well, good luck with that. Okay? No, just know that having your own business can be extremely rewarding. There's also a lot of challenges, and probably one of those challenges is that after everybody else has gone home, you're still going to be the guy or gal staying there working. But it's great to start your own business. How many of you are in the logistic chain supply program? Well, that's great. We need you. Please stay there. We need you. And and Bob would make me be remiss if I did not mention that Bennett is, I think this is our third year, isn't it? We furnish a scholarship through our Taylor Foundation for the logistics program here at Clayton State. So anyway, we are glad to have you. You know, for those of you who didn't raise your hand and you're not in the supply chain or logistics, it wasn't my plans 43 years ago when I was growing up on a small farm in southern Illinois to one day own a trucking company. But thankfully, God had a much better plan for me than I had for myself. I had the opportunity to move to Georgia in 1971 to go to work for a small startup trucking company. I knew absolutely nothing about business or trucking. And I went to work in this little company. There was 2 men and 1 woman, and I was the only woman. And once I got there, I realized that I was going to be expected to learn how to do everything that had to do with that company and business, with the exception of maintenance and safety and logs. And so it was a great experience for me, and probably one of the best learning experiences that helped me for all of the business challenges that I was going to face in the future. In 1974, and when I went to work for that small trucking company, I also went to work for the man that would later become my husband. I didn't know that at the time that I went there, but that's what happened. That was a good thing. And in 1974, my husband, J.D. Garrison, and I purchased a small trucking company by the name of George Bennett Truck Lines out of Macon, Georgia. We had 15 trucks, 30 trailers, and $500 in the bank with 2 small contracts. One was Sunshine Biscuit Company, and the other one was Ford Tractor, the day we started. It would be very difficult for those of you who want to start your own business to think about starting it with only $500 in capital in today's economic environment. As we work to grow our business with our capital restraints, it made for some very challenging times. And one of my biggest concerns when we first started was how I was going to make payroll every week. So in order to do that, because we kind of live from week to week with our business. So in order to do that, we pulled a lot of cookies for Sunshine Biscuit. And so every week, I would cut all the freight bills for the loads that we had hauled the week before. I would then, one of us would get in the car, drive halfway to Columbus, Georgia, where Sunshine Biscuit was located, meet one of our drivers who would take these bills on to Mr. Flowers at Sunshine. He would cut us a check. We would do this in reverse so that I could make a deposit and could make payroll on Friday. And so I've often thought back, if it had not been for Mr. Flowers and his knowing how badly we needed that money to make payroll, I'm not sure where we would have been today. You know, it would be impossible to do that in today's environment because most of your companies want to wait 45 to 60 days to pay you. They're not going to write you a check the same week that you perform a service for them. And so I'm proud to say that in 40 years, one of the big things for me was we never missed a payroll, never missed getting any of our people paid, no matter what we had to do. In 1981, my husband J.D. and I went to Houston, Texas. We were doing a good bit of business with Ford Tractor, and we were offloading tractors at a rail site, and we went there to look to see what we needed to do to increase that business. While we were there, we saw J.D. was a heavy smoker. And while we were there, we saw a sign for a stop smoking clinic. And so we talked about it, and he said, you know, I'd like to try that. I'd like to try it. So we went to this clinic, and they gave him some injections to stop smoking. And unbeknownst to us, they injected a gram-negative bacteria into his body. And 4 days later, he had passed away. And so all at once, I was left with a trucking company and a family that depended upon me. And I had to make a decision. I had to decide if I was going to try to go on or if I was going to quit. And I was looking at an industry that did not include many women at all. At that point in time, there just wasn't any women, especially not women that were in a leadership role in the trucking industry. But I had there was a wonderful group of employees. There was about 10 of us. And we had some great drivers and some agents, and they said, we will support you if you will just try. And so so that is what we did. We said, okay, we will just give it a try. And one of the first things that was my biggest concern was if the bank would just trust us to be able to continue to be able to meet all of our notes and all of our requirements with them. And I was concerned that our customers, we had contracts and people depended upon us, and I was concerned whether or not our customers were going to trust us. Most everybody just said, we're going to take a wait and see. Let's see if she can hold it together or not. And so I'm proud to say that after 40 years in this business, we not only held it together, but today we have 11 different operating companies, all under our Bennett umbrella. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to show you a small video of kind of where we are, where Bennett is today. Got it?
At Bennett International Group, we believe that success is a journey and that consistent growth is the roadmap, which is why the year 2014 marks an important mile marker for us, our 40th anniversary. Established in 1974 with a small facility located in McDonough, Georgia, and only a couple of customers, Bennett went on to grow and grow and grow. Today, Bennett's corporate office, just outside of Atlanta, spans 51,000 square feet on 11 acres. And over the years, we've added a massive pipe yard in Houston, Texas, over 1 million square feet of warehouse space in Augusta, Georgia, and more than 300 strategic locations that span the globe. Trucking has always been the backbone of our company. Initially, Bennett's fleet comprised just 15 trucks and 30 trailers. Presently, 7 logistics companies carry the Bennett brand name. We've grown to over 3,000 owner-operators and contractors, delivering freight, heavy haul, manufactured homes, RVs, and drive-away services. Our company's suite of logistics solutions also includes warehousing and international freight forwarding. Years ago, Bennett served just 2 customers. Today, we're proud to maintain relationships with a customer list of respected brand names, from Fortune 500 companies to small independents to government entities that transport a wide variety of commodities and have specialized shipping needs. Customer relationships start with Bennett agents and field offices, who grew in number from just 4 in 1980 to a global network of agents in 105 countries worldwide. Together, they helped create more than $260 million in combined revenue last year. Bennett's agents know their business, and when it comes time to transport any kind of freight, they know the right driver to call to get the job done. Independent drivers are the driving force behind Bennett. Whether an owner-operator drives millions of miles in front of a flatbed, or a contractor drives a motorhome halfway across the U.S., we appreciate the sacrifices they make to serve our customers. Bennett has a heart for drivers, and we're committed to helping them provide for their families. We're dedicated to their safety, on and off the road, and we know that without them, there would be no Bennett. Simply put, our drivers are part of the family. Bennett was a family business from the beginning, established by Marcia Taylor and her late husband, J.D. Garrison. Upon Garrison's passing in 1981, Marcia continued running the business that today has 3 generations of family working for and leading the company. A big part of their success are the dedicated, loyal employees who through the years have built a family culture that makes a difference in people's lives, both in the workplace and in the community.
I don't just deliver manufactured homes, I help people realize the American dream of home ownership.
I don't just manage the delivery of goods to the oil field. I help decrease America's dependence on foreign oil.
I don't just deliver machine heads for wind turbines. I help make the world a better place.
I don't just transport RVs and campers. I help deliver vacation memories.
I don't just help deliver city transit buses. I help people get home to see their kids.
I don't just warehouse raw materials for manufacturers. I play a part in bringing the consumer the goods they use every day.
I don't just import and export commodities around the globe. I make it easier for the world to work together.
I don't just move military equipment. I support our troops.
That's a little bit about where we are today and who we are. And so what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and kind of walk you through how we got to this 40th anniversary and some of the philosophies behind how we built our company. The first lesson that I learned from JD was that whatever our customers' needs were, that we needed to work and fulfill those needs. We were a contract carrier, and as a contract carrier, whatever that customer needed, didn't matter what it was, we were there to service him. And so that, and that we had to be very flexible no matter what happened in our industry. And the first major challenge that I was faced with whenever, after JD passed away, was the deregulation of the trucking industry. And I don't know how many of you might know what that meant, but it basically meant that when we, before deregulation, we had authority to be able to pick up for a certain customer or deliver for a certain customer. Well, when deregulation happened, it basically meant that anybody could do the same thing that we were doing, which meant that we lost our competitive edge. And so I knew that if we were going to stay in business, we were hauling a lot of lumber and steel, which is a fairly low-priced commodity, that if we were going to stay in business, that we were going to have to move out of the mainstream, and we were going to have to find very specialized types of services for us to provide. So, so Lee, you want to? So our freight division was our first company. This is our core company that we built. And so today we provide all of our customers with flatbeds, single drops, double drops, extendables, and removable gooseneck trailers. And you can see that this is some of the very specialized types of commodities that we haul. We're an owner-operator company. We're built as an owner-operator company, which basically means that we have independent contractors that work for us, and some of them pull their trailers. A lot of them pull our trailers. We have a little over 750 specialized trailers today. A lot of the services in this division that we provide is logistical services. We do a lot of 3PL, 4PL work for our customers if they have that type of need. For example, we just did a lot of work for the government on all their BRAC movements on whenever they were downsizing a lot of their facilities. We're proud to be the largest. We're the largest supplier for the Department of Defense. We do a lot of very specialized work for them. We do protective services. There's a lot of things that the government moves, especially during wartime. And so we're one of the companies that help provide that service for the war fighters whenever there is a war somewhere. And one of the things that we do a lot of unusual, very specialized services, but one of the things I was very proud that we were asked to do is after 9/11, when the attack happened in New York, we were asked to provide all the refrigerated trailers and a driver that would be with them for 24 hours. And this is where all of this became the morgue that we were asked to provide for the 9/11 attack. So we move a lot of different things. We do a lot of work with people like Train Air Conditioning and John Deere moving farm implements. And one of the fun things that I thought I might mention is we had a driver by the name of Big C. And La Quinta came to us and said, look, we would like to put together one of our motel rooms, and we'd like for you to put it on one of your flatbeds, and we'd like for you to haul it all over the country. And so we can market this. And so Big C spent about a year hauling this La Quinta motel room on the back of his flatbed, or on the back of his step deck trailer all over the United States. And he got some of the funniest comments at truck stops about what he was doing hauling that motel with him. One of the things that we're also doing right now is that we're hauling all the steel in for the new Atlanta Falcons Stadium. So if you go there, you're gonna know, you'll just know that Bennett was one of the companies that helped to build that stadium. As our customer base, one of the Bennett has always, we've grown all of our companies kind of based on the fact that we have a customer who has a need, and we try to fulfill that need. And as we began working in our freight division and our customer base grew, so did their needs for bigger, heavier pieces of cargo. And so we started investing into bigger pieces of equipment. And so today we can move payloads up to 400,000 pounds, anything that is heavy, high, and wide. My son David, who loves anything heavy, high, and wide, he managed our heavy haul department. And these guys do so many amazing things. We do a lot of work for the air and space industry. We now have dual lane trailers up to 23 axles. I think this one on the very bottom might be a dual lane 23 axle trailer that can, well, there's one, that can move, that trailer can move up to 1 million pounds, a payload, gross payload of up to 1 million pounds. And it costs about $2 a pound to own. So it's, but out of this division, we usually get, our margins usually run about 30% to help pay for all of that equipment. We do a lot of really cool things with the wind energy. We move a lot of the turbines for GE. We also are providing a lot of the freight services for all the nuclear industry. The new plant, Vogel plant, we're bringing in all of the angle iron and also all the reactors for that plant. So those guys do a lot of fun things, but one of the things that we do in heavy haul that I think is just the coolest thing is that we move all of the parts for the Delta and the Atlas rockets. From the solid rocket motors to the launch of the Centaur satellites that go up into orbit. And I've got a little video I'm going to get Lee to show you of one of these rockets that we handle all the components for.
Atlas systems, propulsion, go. Hydraulics, go. Range coordinator, clear to proceed. Launch director, you go. Ready to launch. Go Atlas, go Centaur, go MMS.
Go for main engine start. 3, 2, 1, 0. And liftoff of the Atlas V with MMS.
Chamber pressures continue to look good, coming up on circuit burnout.
Isn't that cool? I love that. I love the fact that when I look at that, I know we hauled every piece of that rocket that just went up into space, and we have whole teams that follow these trailers cross country to be able to deliver those rockets. It wasn't long, our customers started asking us that could we handle their cargo from door to door. And I know we've got people that in here that work in the international field. And so we were asked, they wanted a one bill concept. They wanted us to be able to pick up their cargo any place here in the U.S. and ship it any place in the world. And we said, okay, we can do that. We weren't sure how we were going to do that, but we said, okay, we can do that. So we became a NVOCC and a freight forwarder for our customers. We're not a big international company because we don't, that's not who we are, but we do a lot of very specialized things in our international department for our existing customers. And then a couple of the other interesting things we do is we import most all the wine that comes in from Argentina. So if you're drinking a bottle of wine that came from Argentina, I know, I love that too. And every once in a while they'll send me a case, which is kind of nice. But We also, which I think this is very interesting, we also export a lot of the cold chain blood plasma that goes to all over Europe and into China, and that's a very specialized type of business that we do in our international department. The next company that we added, and so over the years we've just added companies as we had a customer that had a need. We've figured out how to fill that, and we've just added companies along the way. And so the next thing that we added was a drive-away service. We had a customer that called us and told us that they were having a problem getting their trucks, their Class 5 trucks, moved, and wanted to know, did we think we could haul their Class 5 trucks? We said, sure, we can do that. There again, not sure how we were going to do it. But we took one of our step deck trailers and we modified it, added all these ramps and configurations, and so figured out how we could haul their Class 5 trucks. And so we decided, well, you know, this is a pretty good idea. Let's go out and try to market our trailer. So as we were out marketing our trailer to various customers, they said, well, that's very nice, but we have drive-away. We've got these units that we need to have driven. And we said, well, what is drive-away? And they said, well, you know, we would like for you to see if you could provide us drive-away services. We said, okay, we can do that. And we weren't sure how we were going to do that, but we started looking around. And one thing I have always figured out, if whatever we don't know how to do, the best thing to do is go find somebody that knows how to do it and do it well. And that's what we did with our driveway department. We went out, we found a couple of guys that had been in the driveway business for years and knew how to start a driveway company. And so today we are the largest non-unionized driveway company in the United States. And what we do is we have close to about 1,000 drivers that we, a lot are men and women. This is a wonderful industry for retirees, that men and women that are retired and that just want to see the country. And what driveway basically is that we just send drivers and they get in a new vehicle and they'll drive it from the point of manufacture to a dealer. For example, one of our largest customers is Winnebago. If you've been in a Winnebago, we've probably delivered it to the dealer for you. And so we do a lot of different things in drive-away that's pretty interesting. We deliver a lot of inner-city buses. In fact, we had an opportunity, and we ship a lot of our buses with our international department. So we are able to use the services of our international folks. In fact, one of the most interesting things, Gilly Bus out in California wanted to ship one of their inner-city buses to China. And so they wanted us to ship this bus. There again, we weren't sure how we were going to do that. But we were able to ship the bus, and then we had to put it on a barge and send it up to Beijing. And I would love to have been along on that trip to see that bus on a barge going into Beijing. But another unique thing that we've gotten to do in Drive-Away is during the Olympics, we were asked to bring in all the city buses. So we brought in over 3,000 of those city buses that you saw during the Olympics. So Drive-Away is a really great part of our business. From Drive-Away, we had Drive-Away customers that said, okay, you're driving our buses, now can you pull our campers? You're driving our motorhomes, can you pull our campers? We said, okay, we can do that. So we set about figuring out how to go about finding pickup truck drivers that we could lease on to pull campers. And so the wonderful thing about that is you find a lot of people who have had campers in the past that are maybe retired that just love to get out and go see the U.S. And so we have over 460 3/4 ton and 1 ton pickups that are leased to us that mostly work out of Indiana, and that's what they do every day is they get a camper trailer and they deliver it someplace in the United States. Last year we delivered over 16,000 campers. I don't know who are buying all these campers, but we move about 450 to 500 campers a week. And it doesn't seem to matter if the economy is up or down, or if the price of fuel is up or down, people are still buying campers. So it's a good business to be in. So if one of y'all are starting a business and you want to sell campers, that's a good business to be in. From RVs, then we had some customers ask us, well, what about manufactured housing? And when we got into doing driveway and RVs, we said, we'll never do manufactured housing. Those people are crazy. And so, but we had a customer said, look, we really like for you to think about handling some of our manufactured housing for us. And so my son Danny, who had been working over in the freight division, said, look, Mom, I really would like to do this. So we said, okay, we'll try it. So we got into the business. We had we had about 50 toters. We found out that it was a very difficult business to get into because it was very clannish. You had to have been in it for a long time. You know, it was just very, very clannish business. So we were kind of struggling with it. And then we had an opportunity to do a small roll-up that had about 50 toters, and so that gave us about 100 toters. Shortly thereafter that, a company that had been in business for a long, long time. It was started by the father who passed it to the son, and the son just really didn't like the business, got into financial trouble, and called us and said, look, I really need to sell. I got to sell, and I got to do it in 6 weeks because they're canceling my insurance and I'm going to be out of business. Can you buy and roll us into your company? And so we thought about it, and we said, sure, we can do that. And so within about 6 months' time, 6 weeks' time, I wish it had been 6 months, it was 6 weeks, we had grew that division 4 times. I mean, we now had about 450 toters. And it was quite an undertaking. But it worked for us because the culture of the companies were the same, and it enhanced what we were doing. Well, shortly thereafter, another company, Morgan Drive-Away, who had been it was an old company that had been in business for years and years, they got in trouble. They were a private company. They went public. And as a public company, they brought somebody in that didn't know anything about the business, and it basically just faltered. So they called and they said, look, we'd like to sell you our business. So we looked at it. We said, okay, we can do that. So within a year, we had grown this division from 50 toters to close to 800. And so it was quite an undertaking, but it was a great business. For those of you who are in economics, it was a business that we could make a lot of money at. That had a nice margin. Our customers paid us within 15 to 30 days, which was great. And so it was just a very good business. Unfortunately, whenever the housing market took a downturn, that business took a downturn as well. And we had to make some real decisions. We had all these people, all these trucks, and we had to make some very difficult decisions about if we were going to keep the company open, keep the division running, or were we going to shut it down and lay off people. And Bennett always has a heart for its employees, and usually that's the first thing we think about. So we decided that we would just bite the bullet. absorb the losses. We had made good money. We were going to absorb the losses, and we were just going to keep that division open. And being a private company, that's one thing you can do. You can make those types of decisions. Had we been a publicly held company, we could not have, because you've got to be, we can make decisions because it's us that it's affecting. It's not our stockholders. So we are the stockholders. So we kept that business open. It's finally just now beginning to rebound. And now we're out trying to buy toters because so many people got out of the business, and we have a little over 300 toters. We need to go back to the 800 number, and so we're out trying to buy equipment and bring people back into the industry because there's such a need there for it. The next company that we started was warehousing and distribution. One of our largest customers, John Deere, decided to build a plant in Augusta, Georgia. And since we were doing a lot of work for them, they gave us the opportunity, and they said, would you guys like to come over here and do some warehousing for us? We said, sure, we would like to do that. And so we went to Augusta and started managing one of their warehouses. We manage all of their supply chain, and we take care of their product line every night at the factory. We started out with John Deere. We now have several customers there, like Kimberly-Clark and International Paper. We have about 1 million square feet that's under roof that we now handle in the Augusta area. And I shudder a little bit when I think about it, but we have just signed the papers and are getting ready to build a 525,000 square foot warehouse in Augusta. So hopefully we'll be able to fill that warehouse up, but we'll see. While we were working on the warehouse, we said, okay, this model works very well for us. Let's see, can we do this someplace else? So we had an opportunity in Houston to go and open a warehouse, and that also had a pipe yard. So we started running this pipe yard for the oil and gas industry, because out of Houston we do a lot of work for oil and gas, and so we have a pipe yard that has about 15 acres full of pipe. Had 15 acres full of pipe. You catch the had? Because of what's happened with the oil and gas and the price of fuel, a lot of people like Shell Oil are not importing as much pipe right now, and so our little pipe yard is getting a little bare, and we're going to have to decide. That's another decision in business we're going to have to make. Are we going to just hang on to our pipe yard, wait and see is that industry going to come back? We feel like it is. We feel like that within a year to a year and a half that they'll be back drilling and the price of oil will go up. Is that right? I hope so, because we're going to hang on to that pipe yard, and we're going to do our best to make sure that we have it for whatever our customers are going to need. Last year, we made the largest acquisition that we've ever made, and we had the opportunity to buy a 100-year-old company by the name of Ace Dorn Hauling and Rigging out of Cincinnati, Ohio. There again, this company was started by Mr. Dorn 100 years ago. It was passed down to his son, and now his son also works in it. So it was 4 generations, and it got to the 3rd generation, and they've just had a lot of different issues, and so it's a lot. We have a family company, and we're into our 3rd generation, and it's not an easy thing to move into the 3rd generation of a family company. Usually, if family companies are going to sell, they're usually going to sell in the 3rd generation. It's difficult to see one make it much farther than that. But when we looked at this opportunity with Ace Dorn, we felt like that it would be a great thing for us because in our industry, what we do in trucking is that when we set our budgets each year, we look at the number of trucks that we have and we budget based on the number of trucks. For example, we're going to say that we think that every truck that works for us is going to average $100,000 a year. And so the more trucks you have, the more opportunity you have to meet your budget, the less opportunity. So when we looked at Ace Dorn, they had 170 trucks. We said, you know what, this will really help us a lot, and we need to figure out how to do this. Their culture was the same as ours, and they were a family company, privately held, and so we decided that we would bring them on, which we did last year, and it's been a very good thing. One of the other companies that we have, my son Danny, who had gotten a little tired of working in freight, said, look, Mom, I really would like to go do something different. I want to go to, I'd like to start manufacturing steel buildings, steel and metal buildings, and which is not part of our core business at all. But that's what he wanted to do. And so today, we're one of the largest manufacturers of metal and steel buildings in the Southeast, and we're located in Augusta, Georgia. The last company that we have started, I should rephrase that, not the last, but it probably won't be the last. It's the last one right now that we've started is we just started a company called Bennett On-Site Services. It's a crane and rigging company. I am so excited about this business. I tell David and the rest of them, this is going to be the sexy side of what it is that we do. Because we have a lot of customers doing a lot of work in the oil and gas industry. We have a lot of customers asking us, can you provide us with cranes and rigging? So again, we said, sure, we can do that. And then we figure out how to do it. So I'm very excited because this week we take delivery on our first crane, a 550-ton crane from Germany. And next week we're taking delivery on a 110-ton, and then we've got 335 tons coming after that. So I'm very excited about this piece of business. I think has a very high margin, and I think it's going to be a great piece of business for us. So what I wanted to talk about for just a minute, I've talked to you, and I'm sure I've bored you to death about all these various companies that makes up Bennett, but a little bit about what we look at from a business standpoint in building a company is I look at Bennett just like it's a pie chart, and I think about our various companies and what percentage of the whole they make up. And I look at what is asset and non-asset. For example, our driveway division and our warehousing division and our international division doesn't require a lot of assets. So it doesn't have, it's not capital intensive. I don't have to put a lot of capital out for those divisions. And it doesn't have a lot of liability, not like our freight division, our heavy haul, and even our logistical division, or BTT. Those divisions are all very capital intensive, which means we have to have a lot of equipment in order to do that business. And there's a lot of liability. In our business, one of our main costs is insurance. You've heard all the things we do, and so our insurance is Insurance and claims are probably two of our highest costs. And I also, when I'm looking at Bennett, I'm looking at the different divisions and the different margins. Each one of those divisions carry a different margin. For example, our heavy haul division, a lot of what we get in that division is close to 30% margin. What I might get out of the freight division is I'm lucky if I get a 3% margin. Maybe drive away is a 10% margin. Our warehousing is an 8% margin. And so what we try to do at the end of the day, when I'm looking at what kind of companies we want to add to Bennett or what we want to do, is kind of look to see how it fits kind of in our overall scheme of things, because I'm trying to find things that are non-asset and that do not require, that have a little bit higher margin to offset some of the things that we do for a lower margin. So it's, that's kind of how we go about looking at what we do at Bennett. Our accident ratio, we are, we're trucking. Safety is our #1 core value, and so we're always looking at what we can do. We feel we have a fiduciary responsibility to the motoring public, to all of you, to make sure that everything, every truck, everything we do is very safe. And so I am very proud that our accident ratio is 1 in every 2.6 million miles. That's 4 times better than the national average. So I'm pretty proud of those numbers. So, I want to take just a few minutes and talk about what makes Bennett a little bit unique. I've talked to you about how we kind of grew our company. And one of those things I think is our core values. Many years ago, we all agreed that on what our core values would be. And we make every decision at Bennett based on those core values. Not every decision is popular, but it's always the right decision. Our core values includes things like integrity and respect and spiritual commitment. As I said, we're a faith-based company, and so spiritual commitment has to be one of our core values. Last year, financial strength. We added financial strength as a core value because starting Bennett the way we started with $500, I've always been very conservative, always wanted to make certain that we stay very financially strong. And there's been many times over the years that we could have been drastically affected financially. And when I think back on it, there's just so many things have happened that, like for example, we had a big court case that we were involved in, and our insurance company, we found out that our insurance company went bankrupt. And so depending on how that court case could have went, it could have been, it could have been the end of our company. And so there's been many things like that over the years, but I've always felt like that God has had a hand on our company and has always seen us through all of those times. One of the main things we do at Bennett is we watch our cash. We watch our cash and we watch our receivables. Like, for example, we carry about $50 million in receivables, and we have under 8% that's over 90 days. I'm a bear about collecting our money. I'm also a bear about our debt. I don't allow us to be, we're not a company that will ever be heavily leveraged. If at the end of the year that our debt to equity ratio is more than 25%, I'm not very happy. Even though now that we are investing in all these cranes, I'm sure that may change a little bit, but we'll get it back down to where it's no more than 25%. At Bennett, we say that cash is queen. Last year, we also added this year we added patriotism as our core value. And we did that because we have such a strong love for our country. And we have a program now where we're working to hire veterans. And we have a Veterans Day ceremony at Bennett for all the veterans that work for us, which we have a lot. We also had the Boy Scouts come. We have Boy Scouts that come and visit us, and so that they can get their transportation badge, which I know is not an easy badge to get. Bennett has a family culture. We have about 815 employees and company drivers, and we say that they are our greatest assets. They are the key to our success, and so we care about them and their wellness. We've started a wellness program at Bennett. This year, for the first time, we are self-insured, simply because of all the things that's going on in healthcare and how, because of all the additional cost in healthcare, we decided to become self-insured for our employees. We also have a wellness program, and we do things like we have a walking challenge, we have the Biggest Loser, and we contribute over $500,000 a year into our wellness program for our employees as incentives for them to stay healthy and well. And for the last 4 years, Bennett has placed in the top 100 best workplaces in Atlanta, so I'm very, very proud of that. Also, last year, during our driver and employee appreciation event, the employees presented me with a fully paid-for, brand-new Kenworth truck. We call it the Spirit of Bennett because it came from our employees. And it was kind of their way of giving back to our company. And if you look very closely, you'll see that on the wheel wells that all of our employees have signed their name. So as it travels around the United States, it's just the Spirit of Bennett. It's a working truck, and I'm really very, very proud of that. I'm also very proud. I get to work with my family, which is a wonderful thing. I've talked about that, and I'm just very blessed to be able to do that. And I'm very blessed that we were named Georgia's Family Business of the Year for 2012. So that was wonderful. Bennett also has a heart for our drivers. Without our drivers, we would not be here today. They sacrifice every day to be away from their family. And as a woman-owned company, I have a special place in my heart for our women drivers. We started a program called Women in the Driver's Seat to help encourage we have over 235 women drivers that drive for us. I like to say that we women are the softer side of trucking. And some of the best times of my life has been sitting on the back of a flatbed trailer listening to our drivers tell about their families and their stories on the road. They all have a story. And so we have this little video that I'd like for Lee to show you about some of our drivers and some of the stories and the things that they have to deal with. video always kind of brings a tear to my eyes because those guys are all guys out there working for us every day. Very quickly, I know we got to wrap up. I didn't think I could talk 45 minutes, and look, God. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Anyway, very quickly, I want to talk, a few years ago, Bennett's always been a company that wants to give back. And we decided that we wanted to formally have a family foundation. And so we take 10% of our earnings every year, and we put it into this foundation, and then we give out 10% of the total to various things. And so very proud of that. My daughter Caitlin and Lynette both work in that foundation. So I'll close with this, I'm going to leave you with this, that no matter what you do in business, whether you decide to start your own business or you're going to work with somebody else, I want you to know that you can do anything that you set your mind to. I'm living proof of that standing here. Don't be afraid to learn new things. Be fearless. Women, be fearless, okay? Always work to fulfill your customer or your company's needs. That was the foundation that we built our company on. Take time and make your decisions slowly and wisely, and it's important to feel good about whatever decisions it is that you make in life. Consult and find a good mentor. Over the years, that's probably been one of the best things for me, is I've had some wonderful mentors that have been there whenever I needed help and needed advice. And as you complete your education or whatever it is that you're going to do in life, don't be afraid to bring who you are and your core values with you and whatever principles that you have. They make you who you are, and they make sure that they shine through in everything that you do. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for letting me be here this evening, and as I look around the room, I think that I know that the future of our business is in good and capable hands. Thank you for asking me this evening.
Well, thank you, Marcia, for the inspiring talk. It was wonderful. On behalf of the College of Business, here is a small token of appreciation. It says, in appreciation of your commitment, time, and willingness in sharing your knowledge and expertise with the students, faculty, and staff at Clayton State University, Marcia G. Taylor.
Thank you very much.